beginning and see what did I want to learn, right? What was new to me, and yeah, what were the things that stuck with me the most? And it's all about how we have worked with data in the past and how we're doing it now. So that's what I want to take you through today. Really, like the traditional way of working with data, what we see with a lot of organizations that we speak to, but also how we picture it as Snowflake. So yeah, I talked a bit about me already, but I'll skip this slide. So my background is not even that much in data or IT itself. I really came from sales and strategic management, and then moved into to this role. So I'm not deeply technical, but yeah, like I really started at the beginning too. So I'll try to yeah, talk in that way as well. I used a lot of wintry slides and Christmas slides, so I hope you don't get annoyed with this. But let's start with the data challenge, because I think this picture really shows it quite well. When we speak to customers, the major challenge that they're dealing with is usually in yeah, dealing with a lot of data in different places. So whenever I ask them, it's like quality, governance, getting it out, like integrations, the whole process behind it. But in the end, the biggest challenge comes from the fact that you have to work with different data silos. Like this is an original slide, but not with Christmas balls, obviously. But like when we try to draw out their landscape, they need data from different sources, right? And the more we're working towards a cloud environment with all the SaaS solutions, we're getting more enterprise applications, more well, IoT even. So a lot of data coming in that they need to in some way bring together and create like the truth, right? Which is quite challenging. Now, another challenge that they see with all of this is the fact that there's way more data than just your internal data. Like they've done the studies, in this case, Forrester has actually done the studies with the decision makers, like what is something that you want to do with data? If there's yeah, if you can pick one topic, what would it be? And they also mentioned that being able to use external data in your yeah, in your predictions, right, in your decisions, is becoming more and more important. So you're actually adding, I don't know how many more Christmas ornaments to the whole silo landscape, right? Because yeah, there's even way more than you can include and have to somehow bring together. So in the end, the whole challenge is basically getting the data from your data sources in all different types of formats and different types of structures and from different types of systems created into information, right? And like some of you are on the analytics side, so you know exactly what needs to happen here at least, or maybe you're even more knowledgeable in the middle there. But this is for a lot of companies a major challenge that we're speaking to. So if we picture it and we try to draw it out with them, then this is often the type of process that we're writing, or yeah, writing out with them basically. So there's a lot of steps in that process in between, but also a lot of different technologies that they're working with. So start with the integration side, right? Using ETL before you actually get the data in your, well, even data lake, the unstructured, semi-structured data. In the end, you want to get it into data warehouse. You want to make it available in different ways. So you create data marts to bring it together. So you can already see it creates some sort of spaghetti of steps and tools that you can use. And of course, it makes it complex to manage. It's hard to govern this structure, of course. But it also takes long because there's a lot of dependencies. A lot of things can break, but it really takes long to go from this side to this side. And with a lot of decisions, well, you create dashboards and you want to have the information immediately and not the data from a while back, of course, just as an example. So this is really one of the challenges that many organizations are dealing with, and they come to us to talk about this and how we do it better. Now, obviously, I'm from Snowflake, so I'll tell you how we do it better. But I just want to go into the tool problem quickly. So I have a bit of a test here on whether it's a Pokemon or a data technology, just to show what the challenge is. So hackathon, who thinks it's a Pokemon? Who thinks it's a data technology? Okay, there's more for Pokemon. That's big data. All right. next one. I don't even, that's a Pokemon? No. Impala. Okay, that's big. Yeah, all right. I can keep on going, but I think you, that's a Pokemon. Okay, okay. Yeah. No, just yeah, to show how many technologies are there. And I'm sometimes surprised by the names and the logos that they have, but yeah, it's challenging, right? You have to manage everything and pick the right tool and yeah, create the right way to work. So I hope I don't start at the beginning now. No. So there's an institute in Germany that actually tried to picture all the relational databases that have emerged over time. You can't read it, but there's a lot, right? So it started here with just a few, and the more the need became, yeah, the more challenges there were, the more need there was for relational databases. It really, yeah, exploded into. I think Rachel, you will share the slides afterwards, right? So you can have a look at this. But this is up to the 2010s, right? So imagine what it looks like now even. These are just all relational databases and how they origin from other databases. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a funny, funny picture, but yeah, it shows what a challenge it can be, I think. So, what? Yeah, you know this one? Oh, okay. Can't even read it. Cool. Right. So how do we fix this, right? And this is the whole promise that Snowflake has and why a lot of companies are talking to us. We believe that in a modern data stack, you should keep all your data in one central place, Snowflake, and use flexible best of breed solutions on top. So no matter what type of data you're working with, whether it's still in unstructured format or already in a structured relational format, you should have Snowflake as a central place to collect all this information, no matter what the processes around it still are, right? So to zoom a bit in on what that would look like. So we've seen this one, but instead of this, what we try to picture with our customers is this, right? So having Snowflake in the middle. Of course, you need best of breed tools to get your data sources and build the integration or the extract basically towards Snowflake. But you also be able to use a lot of best of breed solutions for everything on top. So you would have your data lake here with all unstructured data. You would have all your structured data in Snowflake, but also data engineering you can do in the end with Snowflake because we have a very strong performance engine to deal with this. Now here you would use obviously, again, best of breed solutions to do that data engineering with, like for example, DBT. And here again on application side, that could be analytical tools, right? Like Tableau, of course. The machine learning side, a lot of technology partners that we're working with. So in the end, I will not really go into the architecture, but one of the main reasons for customers to do Snowflake is that we optimize the storage and we have a really high performant engine to run all the workloads. So you're never waiting for queries anymore. Now, if we look at the functional architecture, I don't know how technical you are, but I will not go deeper than this. If we look at what it would look like in an implementation, you have your single source of truth, right? Your data in one place, and everything you do around that data, whether it's loading it with technology partners or still doing data engineering, like transforming the data also from Snowflake and back into Snowflake, right? Or, well, this side what we're here for, obviously, I should have made it this bigger, I think, but yeah, like this. But also data science. And the whole point here is that you can all do this separately. And you have your own engines to do this with without impacting each other. So you're never waiting around for each other. You can really set up, well, some sort of Snowflake to start working with your data. So yeah, this is what the Snowflake would look like too, right? But really have your data central and all the workloads, the things that you're actually doing with your data around it with tools like Tableau. Now, it goes even further than this because this is really a technology platform thing and it's very interesting, but we have a vision of going even further than this. Because in the end, it's not so much about, well, it is very much about the technology, but it's also what you do with it in the end. And if we go back to that challenge of working also with external data, like how amazing would it be if you can just get all that data without having to do this whole process all over again, right? Getting it into Snowflake first and continuing there. So we've actually evolved as well. Like I wasn't there in the beginning, obviously, but we started really as a data warehouse in the beginning. We evolved into a platform to also work with unstructured data, doing everything around it, for example. The whole management of the platform that you just saw. And now we're really in the data cloud space. So when we're talking about the data cloud, we're talking about, like I have a slide for this, like a global network of data. So if we look at how we would explain it, and this is a really nice marketing, really nice marketing slide, but like we call it one global unified system connecting companies and data providers to the most relevant data for their business. Basically meaning that no matter who you are or who you're working with, whatever type of data you want to use, no matter what cloud you're on, you should be able to share data very easily and also even monetize data. I saw there was a question, but Rachel, are you able to view them in the chat? Okay, thanks. Right, so if we look at the data cloud, what it would be, like we're really sharing data on the data cloud, and if you're doing this and sharing it abroad or sharing it with other people in your network, then we create a whole infrastructure of what it would look like, right? And the way to get access to this is by using the Snowflake platform. And I'll show in a bit what the network of data looks like. But basically, you can see Snowflake then as your phone giving access to this whole data cloud, to all the data that's on there. So the only thing you need to do is sign up and create your account, basically. And you can get access to all this data that's there to just use in your projects and use for your analytics. So yeah, again, to show what it would look like, you would have the platform, but also very much the content, right? We need our partners, our customers to really share their data. Otherwise, there's nothing to share. So these are really the elements of the data cloud. Yeah.
Very nice data set, but whether it becomes super successful and everybody
no, it's not also not a download. You're basically giving them access to your data. You're paying for the storage, but who pays for the running of the queries that you have to decide? Because you can have that on both sides, but usually when the customer uses your data, then they would do it too. Yeah, then no, that's there's a lot of governance around that, but yeah, there's different options.
Always have to be your direct customer who's buying, right? Somebody third party that is also buying your data.
That could be. So there's different ways in which you can do this. You can really share, with people you know, right, in your network or in your supply chain, or the people that you're working with. But on the other hand, you also might want to share it with everyone, and then you just create your in the marketplace. You create your monetization of your data, basically. So you create the data set there, and they're able to plug into your your data set. Something went wrong, right? Why? I see there's a question, but wait. Loading. I'll try.
I'm not sure if people joining us remotely hear you. That's why I would rather use the mic.
Yeah.
Yeah, or they only have
my question is to follow up on her. How do you, so if I understand correctly, Snowflake would become like a middle person in this sort of tool chain market value adding of selling and trading data, right? Then how does Snowflake think about the whole digital rights management, or I don't know, and ensuring that that the data is used by the person that's intending that it's only going to be used for that purpose? Like DRM is difficult in and of itself for media, where there's a whole market for that. So how are you going to ensure that for?
Yeah, again, that's a more governance question. There's a lot of things you can do around there. So you have the public sharing, and that's usually with weather data sets, right? It's not really something impactful or, okay.
The thing is,
well,
there are companies whose weather data is so, let's say, so specific that you have to sign contracts about, we promise to only use it for this particular, and if they find
Yeah,
otherwise, so it's,
that's a mechanism you can do behind it too. So what you can do, for example, is you don't open it up. You basically tell them to get permission first, but maybe immediately.
Maybe to that, because Snowflake is not the owner of the data. So the owner of the data is the company that is just using Snowflake. Snowflake is just the software, right? So in that respect, the owner of the data, so the company or whatever, they still have all the governance possibilities to say like, no, if only our company is using it, or we only want to share it with certain people, or we even want to mask so that only parts of the data can be seen by others. So in that respect, yeah, it shouldn't be a problem.
I think I need to rejoin now. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I'm already in. Should okay. Yeah. Yeah. Video back. No, I can't put the camera on, but that one is fine, I think. All right, I'll just continue for now. Yeah, I think so. So if we look at the growth of the data cloud, I like to visualize it, and then it really speaks to a lot of people. And I put it in a nice snow globe, obviously. But if we look at April, and you see it's very small now, but you see a lot of tiny dots here, which are Snowflake accounts. And all the lines in between are shares. So customers within Snowflake giving access to others to start using that data. Now, this is 2 years ago, and I think we all remember April 2020 quite well. That's really the month we were like, are we going to stay in lockdown or not? But for Snowflake, we already had the vision, the data cloud vision in 2020. Well, it really grew already with a data set on COVID, right? People wanted to know like how is it going, like how many cases are there. So this is really one of the first data sets that really started exploding on the data cloud. But if we look at now, so we go to July, it's not really now, we're already further, so it will look even bigger. But this is what it looks like now, right? You see again a lot more Snowflake accounts with shares in between. But you can think of, well, financial data sets that you can find on there, like stock exchange prices, for example, over the past time, or well, even software companies that are creating an application on top of Snowflake, where you have all the data in Snowflake behind it. So they're giving access to the people that are using their application, basically. Well, the corners that you see here, so really the circle around the sides, those are really accounts that are sharing it with each other. So for example, you as an organization might share it with your customers or with your logistics partner. And you don't, well, again, you don't even need to have Snowflake specifically to start using that data. So especially in the software example, you can just access that data through an application. Now, just to give an example, just my last part as well, I think we're a bit over time. But a good example, I think, is Picnic. I really like the case in general, like Picnic in general. I don't think this is real because it's actually Dutch number plate. But I really like the way that they work with data. Like somehow they know exactly when it's, well, bad weather and there's new Christmas movies on Netflix. They know exactly like, oh, you need more wine, probably. So I don't know if they do it that well. But well, they really try to do a lot with their data, right? I don't know if you're using it, but if you have the app, they know exactly what to suggest and when. But there's a lot going to it. And they also use Snowflake now as their single source of truth. So let's go into a specific case, because what they wanted to do is also something with, well, weather data. And they had to track for the cold products, like how it would go from their warehouse in the end to the door delivery, right? So with cold products, it's quite challenging to keep the temperature right. So especially in summer when it's warm, then you need to be able to deal with this in a normal way. So they started using temperature readings in their crates of the cold products. They link this with data on, well, the order itself. So they're actually scanning the crates when it left the warehouse, when it came into the distribution location, and also when it's actually delivered. They included weather data, also from the data marketplace, right? It's a lot easier because you immediately get access to the newest data. Well, and a lot more, but in the end, Snowflake was the place where it all came together. So it made it for them a lot easier to run their analytics on it with the best, the best of breed solutions that they're dealing with. So, well, it's not revolutionary, right? It's something you can do, but with Snowflake, you can do it a lot quicker because you just have that data in one place. And especially, you can very easily start using that external data. You don't have to first bring it in, see if it's working for you, yes or no, and then create a process around it. You can very easily just start working with it and see if it's valuable or not. So they're actually using this now with, of course, a lot of models that they've created to predict now how the heat has an impact on the crates. So whenever it's a warm day, they know exactly if they need 2 or 4 cooling elements, and well, for how long the journey will last, for example. So they're including all that information in their machine learning models. So they wrote a whole blog post on this. So if you're interested in this case, you can look through it. It's not a Snowflake story. It's really on their website with how they deal with data engineering. So it's a really great example, I think. So that was it. And I know we're a bit over time, but I think at the drinks we have a lot of time for questions too. Is there anything now, Rachel, in the chat, for example, that we need to? Okay. Cool. Thanks. And I'll hand over to Mila.
I'm actually not really good at standing in front of that one. So,
do you want a mic? Yeah. That's the singer mic.
because I'm not really the person that likes to stand just at one location. It's not my style. Yeah, so what am I going to talk about is data mesh. Who of you has already heard about data mesh? So I see a lot of hands. Who of you thinks they know about data mesh? Okay, one, perfect. It's not that many though. But before I'm going to do that, shortly an introduction about myself. I'm working since May 2019 at Snowflake. So I'm always saying I'm kind of a dinosaur here in the Benelux region. Maybe not looking like it, but sometimes feeling like it. My focus is really on optimization of data usage within companies. And what I personally find super interesting are trends. That's also why data mesh, but you also hear other topics like data fabric, for example. Then always the conversations around centralization, decentralization, democratization, whatever. There's so much happening in the data world. And yeah, I'm trying to stay up to date. To be honest, I don't manage, but I try. My background is in supply chain management and information systems. It's a nice combination. Also, that's why I like data mesh so much, because for me, it's just a replication of what you saw in the real product world being put over to the data world. So it's a nice combination. I am from Germany, but I'm living in Amsterdam. I can nowadays also speak Dutch. So if anybody wants to speak Dutch to me, I manage. And I love to play tennis because it's a wonderful mind game, actually. Yeah, so Joost, we still have to play. I will first start with a little bit of an overview of data mesh. So that it's actually the main part of my whole presentation is going to be about where is it coming from, what is it, and then I shortly touch upon customer pitfalls when they want to start going in that direction, because it's not that easy. I have a full list of considerations. It's really a lot, and it's not even everything, because I didn't want it to bore you. But if you ever get into the situation and you want to have a further conversation about it, I'm definitely there to help. And my personal final thoughts about data mesh and how to look at it. So we just heard about the modern data stack, right? And one of the things that I really like is like, okay, well, you have a super fast performant data platform. Can be Snowflake, hopefully Snowflake. Then you have a skyrocketing integration tool. It could be Matillion, 5ton, whatever type of integration tool you want to talk about. But they're really good. I mean, maybe even low code, no code, something like that. I mean, that's your space, right? No code, low code. And then you have the BI tools. Fast. You can just do everything yourself, self-service, right? That's one of the topics that people like to talk about. Like we want to be self-service. But somehow, the business still waiting and waiting and waiting, sometimes for weeks, sometimes for months, to really get the data solution. And not all of them, hopefully, but a big part in companies and businesses, they're like really asking for, okay, we want to have this data solution. Where is it coming? Why is it not there yet? It's like, what's happening? Because I mean, you have like this amazing data stack. You should be fast. So to get a little bit of an understanding of the problem, I have an analogy with infrastructure. This one here is the highway in Texas, and you see there's no traffic jam, there's no choke point or anything, because they have so many lines. It just goes. I mean, it's wonderful. And then you go to China, other side of the world, and you see like this is a mess, like a big mess. And it doesn't matter how many lines you put to the bottom, it would not solve the problem. So you need to solve either the toll booth, or like also add more lines to the top to actually get there. And this is actually a nice way of seeing it with data as well. So if you are creating a choke point, right, where everybody needs to go through, then yeah, well, you start creating a problem. No, I'm maybe too far away from this, and that's actually where we are, because on the left side, let's say we have a business person. The business person here is a nice lady from procurement, and she has a great idea. She has a great idea, and she wants to create a data solution. And the data solution, well, she can't build it herself because she's not used to this. So that's why she's going to the data expert and is saying like, hey, this is my idea. Can you put that into a solution? What does the data expert do? He is then, well, starting to ask a lot of questions, because he needs to understand the business. He needs to understand like, okay, what's happening there? What do you really want to do to then create the solution? And then the formula is, okay, well, you take the two and then you create a data solution. Sounds easy, right? I mean, if it's like that, it's easy, relatively. But most of the times you don't have a one-to-one relationship. I think most of the customers that I'm working with, they actually have not that many data specialists and more business people. So what happens is, well, you have the colleagues of the procurement officer, and they also have ideas about data solutions that they want to have. And then you have more and more and more. And all of these people, they are going to line up to talk to that data specialist and is asking like, hey, can you please create this data solution for me? And what is coming on top of that is the poor data specialist. He needs to, or she needs to, ask a lot of questions again and say like, hey, okay, so tell me more about your business. I need to understand what you're actually doing so that I can create a solution that is really helping you. So if we are now thinking about changing that, so how can we change that? Because it's not that easy to hire a lot of data specialists because, well, they are rare. I mean, they're not easy to find. So what if we can create something like a new situation where we say like, okay, we take a good architecture with the best of breed stack. We give the business people access to the data. Oh, okay, that's a little bit scary, but we could do that. But if we do that, we need to really empower them. We need to empower them to be able to use the data. So we need to train them properly, and we really need to foster a culture of teamwork. If we manage all of that one, then actually, well, then the business person becomes not only a business person, but like a business person and a data specialist, and can create their own data solutions. So the goal is to go from this situation actually more to a situation where you have more data users or data specialists that are also business specialists, so that really have the knowledge about the business so that they don't have to explain it all the time. And not all of them, and that's why I'm saying like, not all of them want to, because a lot of business people don't want to kind of be bothered with that. But if we can create a little bit more of even a situation where people get their own access, their own responsibilities, that's actually when we can solve these choke points. And that's also where we are getting into data mesh. So the whole idea about data mesh is coming a little bit from that. So data mesh is a decentralized socio-technical approach. And the focus here is really on decentralized and socio-technical. So socio-technical, not technical, right? So socio-technical, really about the organization. It's an organizational change. And we are going actually, and that's a little bit contradicting to what we heard, or we can think about like, okay, it's a little bit contradicting to what actually Snowflake is saying. It's not. It's more about the responsibility. So if we have a centralized data management, so responsibility here, we are ending up actually, if the company is growing, you have more business lines, all that kind of stuff, you will end up in an increase of complex ETL and ELT processes. So then also like the centralized data engineering team, well, they don't know about the businesses, as we already kind of heard. So they lack really the domain knowledge. And as I said, not all of them, but part of them. And then it will just create a bottleneck. And that's not only for the agility of how to use the data, it's also if something is changing. I mean, they need to kind of go back and forth constantly to really understand, okay, what's happening? What do we need to change on our side again? And it just slows everything down. It really is like the infrastructure example of like, okay, well, toll booth. Afterwards, we are ending up, don't get any further. If you're going more into a distributed, domain-centric approach, and that's where data mesh is, that's where we are actually giving all the different domains. Some people call them also line of businesses, but it's not correct completely. So that's why really domains. We give them their own responsibilities for their own data, their own pipelines. And like that, we are actually managing or like enabling this cultural change of having less choke points, because it's not all centralized, but we really enable them to deal with their own data, to create their own pipelines. So not only is it then faster for like, if anything is changing, like requirements are changing, or there are things happening with data quality, like they are really responsible for it. And that is actually the strength of it. So it's a socio-technical shift. As I said, it's not about like the technology below it. That's just following it, needs to bend to it. But it's really the organizational change of going from this left side of responsibilities, where you really have them siloed and centralized, towards more a streamlined version of responsibilities. There are a couple of data mesh principles, and I'm a little bit too far, because we really want to start with the first one, right? There are 4 principles in data mesh that you need to follow. And the first one is really the domain-centric ownership and architecture. So really that the different domains are responsible for their own pipelines, for their own data, for the quality of the data, all that kind of stuff. And what are they actually doing with that? They are creating so-called data products. And that is actually my favorite point here, because this is a change. It's a change of how data is seen. Data is not anymore a byproduct. It's really a product. And as soon as you're changing the view of the perception actually of data, you also change like how do you treat it? Because the same as in real life, right? If you have a product, you have certain qualities that are attached to it. You have certain KPIs. It needs to be at a certain time, in a certain quality, in a certain quantity, at the right location for the right people to access it. So that means now the different domains are responsible for their own data products. So it's kind of like production lines. How do you do that? Well, you need to have a self-service infrastructure. And there we are getting back into the best of breed approach, right? You want to enable the teams to do it. So you want to have an easy, manageable, low maintenance tool stack to do that. So not only like one tool or whatever, but really a tool stack, but then still a common tool stack. Because, and that is very important, and we are getting into the last part, is the governance. If you have to govern over 20 different tool stacks and try to make it interoperable, that you can really easily access all the different data products, well, I can tell you it's hard. I mean, you can manage, but it takes a lot of time, a lot of cost. It's a mess. It's really not nice. And that's actually what happens pretty often with customers. So I'm working with multiple customers on data mesh in different stages. And well, I really love Dilbert, I have to say, or like Dilbert comics in general. So the one variable guy, so what is he saying? He's saying like, okay, your plan is totally impractical because it will create extra work. As you know, saying like, well, every plan creates more work than this plan, including not being proactive. And then he's saying like, okay, I hear what you're saying, but I can't support creating more work. So why do I put it up? Because that's actually coming back to the first point, cultural change. In the beginning, like creating a data mesh also needs a lot of cultural change, because you need to kind of get the people on board to really be willing to reorganize how the responsibility is distributed, reorganize the teams, because you need to enable them, empower them, but partly, I mean, maybe also add certain functionalities there. And then the second part is really how and where to begin. Because now, okay, let's say you have the culture, or you're creating the culture to really do that. But now where, like, how do you define domains? How do you define data products? It's not easy, and I'm not going to dive into it now because that will just take too much time. But it's really, you have some companies that are thinking like, okay, we're going to go into a data mesh like now with everything, like, well, not working, right? So that's why I am always saying like start small, just really small, and then grow from there. Then global versus local. If you give responsibilities to people, right? I mean, they want to also make their own decisions. It's natural. Like they don't want to kind of be told constantly, okay, what to do and how to do things. So they want to have a certain local way of working that they can kind of follow up with. But then still, because you're a company, you're trying to bring all these different production lines together, you actually need to also have global standards. And these ones, defining these ones, like, okay, where do you make actually this change also between local and global standards, and what kind of KPIs? And that's also where we're getting into the next one. What kind of KPIs do we actually want to put on the data products? And then the last point, I mean, it's also the tool choice. Because, well, the more complex the tool is, the harder it is, or like the tool set is, the harder it is to actually keep everything well governed and keep the data products with all the requirements that are up to it. So it just, these are kind of the main problems that I have experienced when working with customers. And then I said, like, I have a whole list of considerations. It's actually, I'm not gonna go through all of them because, first of all, these are not all. But also these ones are kind of a lot, I think. But one of the first ones is like, data domains must not be data silos. So, and that's actually where we're coming back to what Leonie was just talking about, like have your data in one central place, but then still have the logical separation of like making sure that the different teams have their own production pipelines. I'm always saying production pipelines, I'm sorry, that's well, supply chain management talk, right? But really have their own pipelines that they are taking care of, their own responsibilities, but still being connected. And that will already help so much in making data products interoperable, really making them available for other domains to be used. Then we talked a lot about the cultural change, but then again, if you have all of the data still in one location, it's way easier to actually make consistent use of metadata. It's very easier to create lineage. It's very easier to really be consistent with all these points. And that's also one of the things why I was a little bit like, yeah, well, you could think if you're first hearing about like, we want to put all data in one place, and data mesh is a little bit of a not matching concept. No, it's actually a wonderful matching concept. Well, and then the last point, avoid duplication of effort across domains. I hate doing things double. So, and I think everybody else as well. So that's why, I mean, if you have different domains, and that's actually where we are also getting a little bit further, because I don't, to be honest, I don't believe in a 100% data mesh setup. I believe in the second point, don't get rigid. Maybe a hybrid solution is a better way. Like still have a little bit of a centralized enablement platform team that helps you with all the different tools, helps you with setting up all the global governance part. Have also some teams that will never have their own responsibilities for the data because maybe you don't want to, maybe you can't, maybe you don't have enough people for it to really support it. So that's why don't get too rigid. Then it's still an emerging concept. And I really say concept. It's not a framework. It's really a concept. They are not really guidelines. A lot of companies are trying to help with it and trying to create something. But along the way, you will always encounter new challenges that you have to overcome when trying to implement it. Also, this one, I said, like, I love it. You're changing from an enterprise-wide mindset towards a product-based mindset. So really think about like the data products, the data solutions that you have. And if I talk, by the way, over a data product, I'm not talking only about the data set itself, because I also talk about the code, the infrastructure that's coming with it. So that's really a data product. It's more than only the data. And then the last part is really like standardize your self-service platform, because governance again, ease of use, management, all these points, it will just make it easier. And with that said, I actually think I kind of managed to get our time back down a little bit. There is so much more that we can talk about with data mesh, but I think my just short feedback round, do you have the feeling like, okay, well, the 4 concepts, you have a better idea of what data mesh is, or still like probably a lot of new questions, but I see people nodding. Better idea? Okay, so then I would say I'm gonna stop talking about anything besides this one. You will hopefully get the slides. You can maybe get the slides. I don't know. You will get the slides. Okay. So whoever wants to have the slides, because this is just a short overview about the main concepts, right? But it might be interesting for some to read or to hear about like the stories of customers that have really followed this path, how they have started with it. So they will be all visible on the slides. And with that one, I'm going to shut my mouth and will ask for questions. I just repeat your question.
So, in my limited understanding of data mesh, because I think that there's a general problem that scales at that organization. What I've noticed is that lack of understanding of individual domains. So what are the types of industries that you find value in pursuing this right now? It's a large investment that understand their own systems in
Yeah, so just to repeat the question so that everybody can actually hear it is which industries benefit the most in investing in this because it's a very complex topic. If I can say it like that. Oh. Wow, I don't know if that's working, but it is? Okay, well, now I'm just gonna hold it. It's okay. It's feels good, right? To be honest, when it comes to industries, I think it's not really an industry question. I would say it's more a question of complexity of organizations, because you can still follow a data mesh approach without directly enabling the teams to understand all the tools 100%. That's why I'm saying, like, think about it a little bit less rigid. You can still have like a centralized platform team that is enabling then the different business users or like lines of businesses, let's put them that way now, or also domains, like how to do things. They can still kind of support them. Maybe even that you have a centralized team that is on a usage basis, sending out like certain data specialists to really support them in building things, so that they can then also, with only like 1 or 2 business units, get the knowledge about it and then build data solutions. So yeah, I don't think it's really a industry thing. It's more really a thing about like, okay, how complex are companies? Because to be honest, if your company is doesn't have so many like different lines of businesses, you probably wouldn't really need it. I mean, because probably like the data engineers are in a very good conversation constantly with the business and can pick up all the knowledge that they need to have. Okay. Other question?
I think I have quite a loud word. Like obviously those teams need some upscale regarding their what they do and how they do it, and how they govern their own things within the teams. My question is, if you have several teams like that, upscaled and up to the point of where they need to be, how do you prevent this data mesh to become a data mishmash in a way? Or how do you govern all those teams doing all those things?
Yeah. So that's why I'm always saying like it's more. Yeah. Okay.
It's not this. It's asking, one of the main challenges of data mesh is data catalog and automated lineage solutions. So based on your experience, how successful are adopters of data mesh in this? Because I think that they will go well together, the 2 questions.
Yeah. So if you so governance, yes, governance is a big problem. If you have, that's why I'm saying, like, if you have already a common tool set, it makes it easier. Because if you have a common tool set, let's say you do use in general just one platform like Snowflake, you have a data catalog above it, it's very easier to really register all the data products to it. And make them visible like that. Within Snowflake, you can even leverage Snowflake's marketplace to also kind of put products on it and make them visible. So they are different design possibilities, let's put it that way. And what, like, to your question, what is really important in that one is also that this difference between local and global. So you will still have a global team that is deciding on global standards that everybody needs to adhere to. If you don't do that, well, then you will end up in a mess. Definitely, no question to that. So that's why governance is actually one of the most important points. If you're talking with companies about data mesh, always ask them like, how are you standing with your governance so far? Because if they haven't really thought about it until now, then data mesh is also not really something that they should go for until they have really thought about governance. The question online was more direction of in general, like, okay, how successful companies are with it. So we have already quite a nice amount of companies that are now saying that they are following the data mesh concepts. Some to a more rigid way, some to a less rigid way. We hear different stories. Some also, like, to be totally honest, right? If you talk with the people, they will always come back to like, okay, well, there are challenges around like governance, especially the bigger it's becoming. There are also a lot of customers that talk about like, hey, well, in general, it's just difficult. Let's put it that way. There are some customers that are saying they have successfully implemented it, but then still it's not 100% data mesh. Like, I have not seen so far. I have not seen a company that has really brought all the different like really set up a mesh where you have like only domains creating their own data product, making them available to other domains, and going on. So far, I've only seen companies that have certain domains that are creating their own data products and providing them to the rest of the company. So more like the hybrid approach. But you will always see marketing, right? I mean, it's marketing is always there. About like everybody is data mesh now.
Do you see the change in the roles of the data people going from, as you were saying, just pure analyst helping the teams, moving maybe more into the governance or even like project managers with the data mesh concept?
Yeah, so I'm just still gonna repeat it. I mean, it doesn't matter, but if there's a change in roles, there's actually not only a change in roles, there are also new roles that are being created in teams. So you have really like data stewards, you have data product owners, and that makes it also, again, very complex because it's new, right? So everything that is new, it needs more time to figure out, okay, how do we do it? And that's going back to also then the responsibilities around it. So what responsibility does now a certain role really have? As I said, it's still a very new concept, although discussed since 2019, but I mean, that's still new. So I don't think that you will get the same answer depending on who you are talking to. So there are new roles, yes, with new responsibilities. Also within the team, like, people need to figure out like, okay, what do they need to do? What can they do? What should they not do? But it differs. It always differs.
Veronica is asking, well, she says that I know it may depend on size of the company and complexity, but in your experience, how long it may take for a company to create data mesh?
That is a very hard question again to answer.
If it's simple.
Yeah, no, it's just not, it's not simple. It might look simple regarding some companies find it very simple to create the first domain. Because it's maybe a very obvious one where they just know like, okay, well, this domain is creating this data product, which is like one of the main data products that is used for the rest of the company and other domains. But then really building it further out, it's just complex. It needs time. You really need to think about it, and you need to rethink. And I think that is actually the most important part about it. You cannot stop and say like, okay, we have now made a plan, we're gonna follow it through. you will just always notice that you have to rethink and actually redo and realign and readjust. And that's actually the part that becomes so interesting about it and why it's so complex.
It's a bit like self-service BI, isn't it? You always have to keep adjusting because otherwise you'll fail.
Yeah. Well, that's more your topic. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you all. And Christmas game now? Oh yeah, Gaia is first. Yeah. Do you
Yeah, I
want
can send you stuff. Okay.
Ruben, do I need to
Yes.
turn that off or just put it back?
No, I will use this if it's still on, right? And just for me to test. How do you use, where do you click, sorry? To the up?
No, just on the sides. Copy with that. Yeah.
Okay, maybe I will use this works better. Okay, yeah, welcome everyone. This will be relatively short. So I think we might still be on time at the end. My name is Gaia and I'm working at the Information Lab for 3 years now. I've mostly worked with Tableau and Alteryx, but in the last year and a half, I've started to take an interest in Snowflake. And today I would like to talk to you about my Snowflake journey and how I got to the point I'm at now, which is that I'm working with Snowflake at a customer. And I would like to talk about how we can use, or how I use Frosty Fridays to get started. And finally, we created a special Frosty Friday challenge for today. They're usually released on Fridays, but you can have a sneak peek before everyone else. All right, so yes, you can have more time to get ready. All right, so my journey started around a year and a half ago when I took the SnowPro Core certification. And looking back, I realized that I was attracted to Snowflake because I had worked with SQL before and I wanted to go back to it. But I really didn't know much about databases, data warehouses. So the SnowPro Core certification really helped with that. So I'm grateful I took it, but I have to say, once I had it in my pocket, I still didn't know what to do with Snowflake. So I was really missing the hands-on part. And well, I was really busy with work and with Tableau. So I said to myself, you know what, just keep doing what you're doing. When the time comes, you can pick up Snowflake again. And the time did come a few months ago when a colleague of mine, actually Mike, and another guy started this Frosty Friday challenges. And I will talk more about how this helped me later, but this really kicked off my hands-on Snowflake experience. And now I'm working as an analytics engineer. So it was really important for me. So what is Frosty Friday? I'm gonna try to click on this link. Let's see if it works. Yes, yes, okay. So this is frostyfriday.org. If you're interested, you can sign up to participate, which means you will get an email with the new challenges, and you can also leave your solutions under the challenges. And here is the challenge index. Yes. So you see there's quite a lot already. Yes. So if you're interested in started, definitely start with the basic. As you see their tag, that's very convenient. And let me tell you a bit about why it's a good tool if you're a complete beginner. So first of all, Snowflake is huge. There's a lot you can do with it, right? So this gives you a chance to focus on a single feature to they're pretty hard. Yes, I can relate. But it does reduce the focus, so you can really accomplish something. And literally, you can go from 0 to something, and that's already a lot. And you can go at your pace. And I want to suggest a way to approach this. So for me, it's definitely the Snowflake documentation. It's a great tool. So for instance, I don't know if I can just open a tab, but because there's a bar up here, I'm gonna try to move it. Yeah, I managed, okay. So let me give you the example of the first challenge. So let's say I open the challenge and here is the text you will see. So it's just this part. And it says, your employer tells you to go, to this S3 bucket and retrieve a bunch of CSVs. Here's the link, good luck. You're like, okay, great. What I would do is I would Google something like Snowflake, S3 bucket. And probably the first thing that pops up, and it is the Snowflake documentation. So I definitely recommend go here, struggle with it, and learn how to use the documentation to accomplish what you need. So for instance, this is the copy into table command that you will need for the first challenge. And here it shows you the syntax. First time you see this, you're like, what? Definitely like scroll down until you see an example. There you go. So this is actually how to write that command. And then if you need, you can go back to, this more complex advanced stuff. So definitely go struggle with it. And if you can't manage to solve them, there's different options. You can go under the challenge. There's a section with the comments. And a lot of people share their solutions here. And yeah, you can go peek at the solution, just take a bit of it and then continue on your own. There's very nice blogs. One of these is from this guy in the audience that talks really loud. I found this blog useful, so I'm posting it here. And there's even YouTube videos, and I happen to have a YouTube channel myself. So I'm also plugging myself here. But for instance, yeah, okay, it doesn't open immediately, but the idea is also here that there's timestamps. So go take that piece and then continue. So these are all resources you can use. They're all free. I think it's great. And if you're lucky enough like me to have people that use Snowflake, then definitely hang out with them. If you don't, there's also a Snowflake community with forums, and I'm great at clicking on this side. Yeah, you can just put a question here or look at what other people are talking about. So yes, this is my experience. It's really helped me. And I would say that you don't have to solve all the challenges. I think for me, the first two challenges I solved are really the ones that helped me the most. So if you're interested, definitely week 1 and week 3, which build on each other. After I did those two, I was already like, okay, I can do this. Like I have something in my hands. And then the rest is just, yeah, you keep going, you keep learning. So this is the challenge that Atzmon and I created. And the idea of this challenge is to give you a sense of the whole pipeline. So it's a bit different from what you usually see in Frosty Fridays, which are really, really small, just a specific feature. What we wanted to do with this was, again, yes. So the idea is somebody pull data from an API. So you have some weather data stored on an S3 bucket, and you can build like the whole pipeline. So the first is a landing schema. So you want to pull the data from the S3 bucket and store it there, either in a stage or in a table, just as raw data. Then you want to clean it up in the curated zone. That's the second schema. And then you want to make it available for consumption, which is also mimicking what can happen in certain companies. So that, for instance, the Tableau developer only has access to the actual curated data or consumption data. So if you're motivated after this presentation to go home, you can tackle it. You can be the first to, to answer, to read your comment. And yeah, that's all. Yes. I've done just 6. I know, Atzmon, you've done all of them? Yeah. You will see his name, like, it's here. You see this? Yeah. So it's mostly Mike Droog, which is a colleague of mine, and another guy called Chris Marland. I think he's a data superhero, data without the super. Is it superhero? Yeah. So, but what I know, literally, yeah. We were at the Snowflake conference and they literally had capes on. Yeah. Yeah.
I have a question. If you can talk to yourself before starting these challenges, is there something you would recommend you wish you have done differently like maybe to speed up the process or approach the challenges in different way?
It's weird to say no, but no. I think here's what I did with the first one. I kind of gave up at some point. I was on it for like a whole afternoon. Then I said, okay. I looked at the solution. It still helped me to repeat it by myself. And in the second one, I didn't want to give up. I went to sleep, and the morning after, I worked on it really hard and I solved it. And that was really satisfying as well. What I would tell myself is like to do a couple more just to keep it going. But you know how work life is. I was distracted by something else, and then but I think if you can do like 5 in a row, that's probably better. Because when I picked it up again, I struggled a bit more, so maybe to keep it in a row. Yeah.
So I gave up.
Yeah.
After the first challenge. Because
Which
I
one did
use-
you try?
Yeah, because of Tableau, I use Snowflake all the time because this is where our data marts are coming from, and I
Yeah.
always do SQL inquiry there, my stuff, and check it. And I was like, I can do this basic, and I was like, no, I was crying in the bathroom. No, I
Yeah.
can't do it. I was like, okay, I gave up. But what do you suggest as for example, a free training, or did you do any Snowflake training on the website to help you to guide through?
Yeah,
I
maybe
can help
she's
you.
Did I don't know. I think I just kept trying. I don't have a technique or something, but yeah. Do you
maybe
have an-
maybe also good. So what I personally really like is, because this is amazing. I love it. But have you ever tried to really follow the 0 to somewhere, as you put it? Because that is Snowflake's own hands-on lab, which also goes like to some of the beginning steps with explanation. Most of it is just copy paste, but then also like to get a first understanding and then go into these ones maybe.
Yeah, and I love YouTube, so I did. Now thinking about it, I was on YouTube looking how other people do stuff. Yeah, so
And otherwise, just reach out to your friendly Snowflake neighborhood engineer, and then we help you.
By the way, other than the hands-on, the Frosty Friday, like the comments are really solutions for those problems. So looking into each one's solution, because everyone tackles it a little bit different. So you can get a sense of what the mindset that needs to have, or what are the subjects that they are touching in. And you can look through their code and maybe understand better.
and I see somebody found this challenge. It was even unlisted so that nobody would find. Somebody has already solved it, by the way.
Yeah. On a regular basis.
Yeah. What the hell? Okay. Okay. People are.
Okay, so I also have a question. I mostly work with Tableau, a little bit with Alteryx, but mostly Tableau. Would you recommend like those challenges to learn it? Because I already heard people getting stuck, and you have some solutions. Do you think it's possible, or for me?
For
know
you,
me.
like if it would be a useful tool for you to learn?
Or with just as out of curiosity, because it just didn't start.
I mean, I can't think of a better solution. Like can't think of a better suggestion to actually start. You just need to deal with the frustration and not give, like there's no going around it. And I think maybe what's confusing is that the concepts are a bit, like for instance, what's a stage, what's an estimate, like you're missing all of this nomenclature as well. You're missing you don't know what the concepts are. So it requires a bit more motivation. And if you're not gonna use it because you work with Tableau, chances are you're gonna give up.
Yeah.
So my motivation was, I wanna work with Snowflake. I'm gonna understand it.
Yes, and
So,
I
yeah.
did do, I know that there is like this online platform where you can do kind of Snowflake sales beginning training. They explain you everything. And it's very, yeah, I thought it was like a very good explanation of like all the basic data stuff with all the languages. And there's a lot more. I didn't do it all. But today I just got this badge because I did it and I forgot about it. And I was like, oh, I did it like a long time ago, but it actually helped for all the words, to give words to the language. Yeah, so maybe that could also be a tip to do that first thing. So thank you for reminding me that it's out there. Thank you. It was somewhere on the Snowflake side. I have to dive into it, but it was a nice course. I liked it.
I think it's really like if you don't have the vocabulary. I think if you don't have the vocabulary and you're coming more from really, the analytical side from Tableau, for example, and then you're trying to go further, or earlier into the chain of how the data is coming towards you. It's a lot to learn, and no question to that. And then it's a lot of Googling, understanding. And that's also what Leonie tried to do, right? To give you a little bit of an overview over like, okay, you have data sources, and then you have like all these different tools and stops where data can go through until you are actually finally getting it into your Tableau system. So it's a lot, but you will manage if you really want to.
Yeah, it's possible. I'm here to say it's possible because I also didn't know, for myself. So. I did it because it wasn't available back then.
Yeah.
So
also maybe shows how it's not the basic, it's not where you start.
Right. So you're saying I wasn't a complete beginner in a way. Yeah, true.
The fact that you passed Snow Pro before you did this is amazing to me.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, that was it. So I think I should leave.
In reality,
Oh, if you can leave the laptop.
Of course. Where should I go?
So if you go to Kahoot, would you know that complete thing? If I can.
Do we have snowflakes?
Yeah, look.
There you go, right?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Right.
did you drop it intentionally or not?
Sorry?
Did you drop it intentionally or not, the share content?
I did because I was
Okay.
logging in. Yeah. So are we sharing it with the people who are online? Yeah. All right. So I just share this, right? Or do I share it from Zoom? Right. Yeah. Lovely. So hello everyone again. Thank you for joining. And we had a little bit of a unexpected sneak preview of the game earlier. But today we just wanted to take on the topic of all these different data tools and different dictionary now appearing here and there. So if you want to join our Kahoot, you can either use the app if you do have it. You can just also scan the QR code or go to kahoot.it and put the pin for the game. There is going to be some prize. I don't know whether it's just for the first place or we'll be generous enough to give for other places as well. But it is competitive, so just be ready.
I don't know what you're winning.
It doesn't
I
matter.
have the t-shirts. Come on, Gaia.
Right?
And after this event, it's a sneak peek. Everybody's going to be a winner, and it's and we can be thankful for Ruben.
So Leon did a little bit of a preview, really unexpected, of the questions. So you might have seen some of them already, but I think we'll refresh, refresh the memory. Okay, so shall we start? I think that should be fine. Yeah. So be ready because it's quite quick. Well, not yet, not yet. There is no question yet. So do you think this is a Pokemon or a big data tool? I told you it's very quick. I told you it's very quick. There is no choice really, just yes or no. Okay. Oh, Aline is at the top. Yeah. Next. What do you think this is? Is it a Pokemon or a big data tool?
No, you're changing your side.
That's Kahoot for you. They will change color and shapes. It's all very. The Atlassian was the big data thing. Okay. Next. Geodude. Is it a big data or a Pokemon? It's a Pokemon. That was a Pokemon. Someone's going up. Next. Flink. What do you think is that? It is a big data. Okay, next. Hummingbird. It is a big data tool. Well done. Okay, guy is getting up there. Delibird. Nope. This time it is a Pokemon. So now you really see the inspiration of all these tools, where the names are coming from. That we already have seen the preview, so you might remember. It is a big data tool indeed. Okay. It's a really strange name, the Bizium, for whatever it's big data or Pokemon. It's still strange, I think. It isn't actually a big data tool. Right. Almost there. Hadoop, I don't know. I think this is the most difficult one, really. Someone did.
Who was the one?
We are no shame in here.
Okay.
Maybe people confuse colors. Kahoot is very confusing. Okay. Spoink, that's one of my favorites. What do you think? It is a Pokemon. Though it really sounds like, like a software. Exactly. Right? Tokutek.
Jesus Christ.
It is a big data tool. They're all quite niche. I was Googling them before. Okay. 2 more questions to go. Wallpix. It is a Pokemon. Alebas.
There's one more.
It is a big data,
Wow.
though it does sound like a Pokemon.
No.
Right.
It was
One more in the last one. Titan.
It's everything.
It is a software as well. And then now we can see the podium.
Okay, number.
Let's get it all the positions and then we make the prize up.
Yay!
Please, is it you?
Most likely, yeah. Well done. Runners up is Christian and Mila. Congrats.
I don't know. Leo is.
I think Leo is online, and yeah, I think it's one of our colleagues from the information lab. So we know
can
where
bring
to
him a
find
goodie bag.
him. Okay, well done, everyone. I don't know whether. Yeah.
That's too bad.
Very good. I don't know if people know more Pokemon or big data, but I think everyone is even more confused with all these tools that are coming out. You are the team lead responsible for the swag given out. You already.
Yeah, just to get the oh, and you need to say where we go.
Yes. Yeah, I knew it is something with a dick. Sorry, this is what I remember. Yeah.
It's been a long week.
Yeah, and this was one of your engineers advised me that you guys always go there, and I called them, and I was like, yes.
Sure, engineers and not like account executives. I think it was account executives that go there.
And I was like, oh, the Snowflake people. Yeah, okay. So yeah, we are going to Dickies, which is on the corner.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's on the corner.
Yeah.
So it's really not far. If you go direction on the Gustav Mahler direction station.
It's on the square. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think it's the account executives that go there.
Shall we stop the call then? Yeah. Yeah, we're done. We don't have any.